The leaders of various nations come to Lord Khan to offer recognition and liberal gifts for support. Eventually, his little girl, Turandot, shows up in the lobby and, sticking to the floor covering, which is a guide, falls. Khan understands that this occurred because of the way that the realm of Malvia isn't with him and requests to tackle this issue. The kid follows the request and goes after the realm, annihilating everybody in his way. For her birthday, the child gets a lot of presents, yet 3 wristbands draw an exceptional consideration. Putting them on his hand, Turandot perceives how they shackle her hand and deny her of the capacity to recognize colors. Afterward, the cleric reports that the best way to lose the revile is to find a person who, between the ages of 15 and 18, will tackle 3 questions and become her significant other. In the meantime, the educator, Joe, gets back to his local realm and carries with him the child of the rulers of Malvia, calling him Blue Eyes. 10 years later, Blue Eyes and Laura infiltrate the fireworks workshop to enjoy a beautiful fire show. The soldiers spot them and give chase, but even the master helps the couple after hiding and finding the cave. Blue Eyes and Laura go to it. Meanwhile, General Boylan visits Princess Turandot in order to teach her swordsmanship. The girl refuses, but the warlord continues to insist on his own, trying to prove the futility of training. The princess grabs her blade and attacks the general. Insulted, Boylan orders the execution of the strangers, but the princess intervenes again and forbids the soldiers from doing so. Not wanting to continue training, the general leaves, and Turandot asks Blue Eyes to take up fencing with her. The guy refuses and leaves but returns to the girl's house at night to start training. During training, he says that his name is Blue Eyes because of the color of his eyes, but the princess sees him in black and white and cannot be sure that the guy is telling the truth. After that, Blue Eyes shows a small firework, but the girl sees only flashes of light devoid of color. During the next training, the guy notices strange bracelets that have stuck into the hand of the princess. The moment he touches her, Blue Eyes is flooded with painful childhood memories. The guy realizes that he has already seen them before and, without saying goodbye to the princess, goes home. In the evening, General Boylan visits the high priest to undergo a magical ritual and become invulnerable. The experiment fails, and the warlord is furious because he wants to take the throne. The priest offers an alternative option to marry Princess Turandot by solving 3 riddles. He also talks about the features of people from the kingdom of Malvia, whose internal organs are located on the opposite side on the full moon. Blue Eyes goes to the princess again and sees that she is sitting tied up. The girl asked him not to appear that night, but the guy disobeyed because he was in love with her. As soon as Blue Eyes freezes, it turns out she attacks him, as she is blinded by a curse that deprives her of her normal feelings and turns her into a cold-blooded killer. With the last strength, the girl restrains herself, seeing that it is not an enemy in front of her, but Blue Eyes, and asks him to leave the royal court as soon as possible. The princess banished the guy forever, but he is ready to do anything to meet her again, realizing that it's impossible to get into the palace just like that. Blue Eyes joins the ranks of the army and meets the arrived Prince Yutong, who dreams of marrying Turandot. Lure spots a wealthy stranger and steals a bag of gold. Other residents of the city see that the prince has an expensive blade and decide to steal it. Hutong and his mighty guard Song are furious and attack impudent thieves using cunning and dexterity. The nimble Lure easily deals with the guard. Meanwhile, Hutong pursues the man who stole the blade and falls into a trap, accidentally set by Song. At the last moment, Blue Eyes saves his life, demanding that the thieves return the bag of gold and the blade. Blue Eyes decides to give Prince Yutong a short tour of the city, talking about the incredible beauty of Princess Turandot, as well as showing the royal warehouse where fireworks are made. Yutong expresses his gratitude to the guy and asks him to accept his friendship and become a sworn brother. The next morning, the prince who arrived at the courtship meets with Turandot and sees how beautiful the girl is. This does not bother him because he came here not for marriage, but revenge. The girl will soon be 18, and during these 3 years, many have not solved the riddles, losing their lives. His brother became one of those guys who try to get the heart of a beauty. When Yutong attacks, the princess has no problem moving away from the enemy's blade and captivates the man with sewing threads. Soon he is sentenced to death and taken to the central square. Khan gives Prince Yutong one last chance and promises to give life if he solves 3 riddles. Blue Eyes, who is among the soldiers, notices the reflection of 3 bracelets and steps out of the crowd to take this burden upon himself. He is ready to answer 3 riddles and understands what consequences await him. Blue Eyes is otherwise named Brother, so King Khan allows him to take part in the task. The crowd supports the guy and also wants him to participate in the challenge so nothing can stop him from doing so before the trial begins. The high priest warns Blue Eyes that time is limited and he will be sentenced to death if he fails to answer correctly. After that, Princess Turandot rises to the stage, offering to change his mind for the last time and refuse the test. The guy saw horrific events in his memories and is ready for anything to find out who he is. The girl tells him the first riddle: among all things on earth, what is born of darkness and loses life with the dawn, immersed in childhood memories? Blue Eyes sees an enemy attack on their home. Father and mother understood that there was no time to retreat, and the man put all 3 bracelets on his hand. Having gained incredible strength, the king of Malvia dealt with most of the opponents, depriving them of their lives. The ringing of the bell brings Blue Eyes back to reality, as he did not answer and failed the test. The priest reports this and sentences the guy to death. In the evening, he is taken to a boiling cauldron to be thrown into it. Lure and her father, Teacher Joe, are forced to watch from the crowd a moment before the execution and bears her mother's words and says the answer to the riddle, the word hope. At this moment, the magic bracelet cracks and flies off her and Dad's hand. The guy is thrown into the cauldron, but Joe intervenes and throws a spear which Blue Eyes clings to. A moment later, everyone sees a royal salute and realizes that he answered correctly and can be pardoned. The king is glad that his daughter was able to lose her first bracelet. The general is puzzled as he dreams of becoming the husband of a princess and does not want Blue Eyes to become the first prince of their kingdom. Leaving Khan's chamber, he steals a fragment of a blue bracelet and orders that there are no holiday lights in the sky, even if the guy solves the riddle. In the evening, Blue Eyes returns home to talk to the teacher. Joe asks him to leave the kingdom as soon as possible because his past is a big secret for others, revealing which is life-threatening. This does not frighten the guy, and he is ready for anything to save Turandot. The next morning, Blue Eyes listens to a new riddle: makes a woman beautiful, makes a man restless. When a woman and a man lose their lives, become cold ice once again immersed in memories. Blue Eyes remembers that his real name is Caliph. He is the son of the king and queen of Malvia, who failed to cope with the attack. The father, with 3 bracelets, became not only strong but also cursed. Having repelled the attack of the enemies, he accidentally plunged the blade into his wife. A little later, the king realized this and took his own life to leave this world forever with his wife. Time is running out, and there is no answer again. So the guy is sentenced to death with 1,000 cuts. The executioner enters the platform and makes the first incisions, bleeding Blue Eyes. At that very moment, he realizes that the correct answer is blood and shouts about it to others. The second bracelet collapses, and Turandot asks his assistants to launch a salute, announcing this. The men in black shoot down the fireworks arrow and attack the princess and her servants. The general's assistant orders the execution to continue as there are no lights, which means the answer is wrong. Master Joe assumes that the rainy weather is to blame and asks to wait. Boy, and is not going to obey. And a fight breaks out between the men. Soldiers and people enter into a duel. The general's army turns out to be stronger, and Boyens throws a sword at Blue Eyes to get rid of him. At the last second, Turandot is on the square and protects the guy since his answer was correct. In the evening, Blue Eyes communicates with the teacher and finds out what exactly happened more than 10 years ago. The general orders the assistant to find out the story of the guy's origin and receives a shard from the second bracelet. Boyens' men attack Blue Eyes and lure and surround them. The princess protects the guy and the girl accompanying him at the same time. She does not want Blue Eyes to leave the royal castle and asks to solve the third riddle. The guy refuses to comply with her request and plunges the princess's sword into himself before passing out. Blue Eyes says the answer, which is a horrendous name. The third bracelet and the curse subside, and the girl again sees the world in all colors. A little later, the doctor examines the wounded Blue Eyes and realizes that the guy is alive and well since the wound is strong. But his heart is located on the right. The general realizes that Blue Eyes has arrived from Malvia and decides to find proof of this by obtaining the third shard from the bracelets. Left alone with the guy, the princess asks him about marriage and says that the ceremony will take place tomorrow on the day of her 18th birthday. Blue Eyes is ready to marry, but only on the condition that Turandot will tell him his real name. The girl informs her father about this, and the king promises a reward to the one who says the name of the guy in the evening. The high priest and General Boyen use the fragments of the 3 bracelets to perform the ceremony again. This time everything works out, and the man gains invulnerability. The only thing that can hit him is the blood of the damned. The priest knows too much, so the general attacks him and plunges his blade into his stomach. Luckily, the high priest survives and gets to the fireworks master to tell him what happened. Meanwhile, Lure finds Blue Eyes drinking in a cafe and shuts his mouth in time, preventing him from giving his real name. Lure is sincerely in love with the guy, but he does not understand this since he considers the girl his sister. At the same time, the general visits Joe's house and fights him, demonstrating his invulnerability. Lure goes to the princess and tells her the truth about the guy. Turandot hurries to him and saves the general from attacks, who ambushed him in the house of the teacher Joe. Blue Eyes confesses that his name is Caliph and he dreams of taking revenge on the royal family for the harm done to his parents and the kingdom. The general is ready to execute the guy for these words, but Turandot does not allow this and promises to talk to his father. This does not stop Boylan. And then the princess agrees to become his wife in order to save the life of Blue Eyes. In the morning, the guy meets with the king and says that his desire for revenge will not fade away as long as he is alive. The general proposes to execute him, but the high priest and Turandot appear in the hall, having learned the truth. It turned out that more than 10 years ago, the kingdom of Malvia did not attack their ambassador. General Boylan did not try to negotiate peace because he wanted war. Disobeying the order of the Khan, he attacked a peaceful kingdom and is the only one responsible for what happened. Boylan confirms that this is true, as he is no longer afraid of anyone. After taking the life of the priest, he organizes a riot, and the soldiers fill the castle. The general planted the explosive, but when he shoots it, it turns out to be fireworks that form into dragons and attack his own soldiers. The fireworks master found out the truth from the priest in time and replaced the explosives. So now, Boyan himself is against the king and his supporters. Knowing about his invulnerability, he does not retreat. And the king decides to personally deal with the traitor using a sword forged from a meteorite. Khan attacks the general, but does not harm him and breaks the weapon against his body in the ensuing fight. Using fireworks and explosives, they try to stop the general. As a result of the explosion, he is covered with stones, and the couple decides to kiss to celebrate the victory. The general was intact and again attacks them. Turandot sacrifices herself and sees that her blood burns the body of the enemy. Having handed over the sword to Blue Eyes and told him about it, the girl falls. The guy uses the same sword and plunges it into the general's heart, taking his life and turning him into a charred statue. Turandot falls asleep forever, but before that, she manages to tell the guy that the secret of fireworks is written on the clothes she sewed. Having lost his beloved, he takes the cape with the text and leaves. He gives the secret of fireworks to other cities and countries so that they can celebrate major events. Years pass. But Blue Eyes still sees the ghost of Turandot, who does not leave him for a minute. Thanks for watching Real Recapped. Please hit the subscribe button so you can get notified for more videos like this.